Over the years of playing chess and analyzing games of various players, I've noticed a powerful trick that often leads to easy victories: sacrificing important pieces. This clever tactic throws opponents off balance and appears to involve minimal risk. Let me demonstrate how this tactic can be effectively employed in popular openings, such as the one that starts with pawn to e4, leading to the Alachines defense. By attacking the pawn on d4, we provoke it to advance. Normally, white responds by moving the pawn to d4. However, instead of following the typical moves, we surprise white by sacrificing the pawn on b5. In response to white capturing the pawn, we then play pawn to c5, offering yet another pawn for white to take. At this point, your opponent might find your moves unusual or consider you a beginner, falling into your clever trap. When you play queen to e5, you create a double attack on the king and the bishop, putting black in a winning position. This deceptive tactic can easily mislead your opponent within just a few moves, catching them off guard and forcing them to make critical mistakes, often leading to the loss of material early in the game and ultimately the entire game. White's attempt to counter with queen to d2, intending to capture black's knight, was futile due to the overwhelming attacking position black had across the diagonal. Because I had a strong attack going on, targeting multiple pieces along the diagonal. If the opponent's queen were to move, I planned to capture the pawn on g2 and subsequently capture the rook on h1. And upon realizing the unfavorable situation they were facing, they ultimately resigned. I must admit that I'm not entirely sure about their calculations, but it was clear that my position was significantly advantageous, leading to my victory. The second trap emerges from my favorite bishop's opening, a strategic choice for white. After playing bishop to c4, many opponents tend to respond with knight to c6. You can then opt for pawn to f4, which creates a position reminiscent of the king's gambit or, at the very least, something unfamiliar to your opponents. This element of surprise often catches them off guard and grants you an advantage early in the game. Once you execute pawn takes f4, you further challenge black's position by playing pawn to d4. This move allows you to grab control of the center, putting yourself in a favorable position to advance your pieces. Moreover, your bishop from c1 stands ready to reclaim the pawn on f4, amplifying the pressure on black. As a response to your strong central control and the threat to recapture the pawn on f4, many opponents attempt to hold onto the pawn by playing pawn to g5. However, you can undermine this pawn chain with pawn to h4, effectively splitting up their pawns and creating weaknesses in their position. At this juncture, black faces a dilemma on how to defend their pawn structure. Opting for h6 is not a viable option, as after an exchange on the h-file, black's rook on h8 would be lost. Consequently, some opponents may choose pawn to f6 to try and preserve their pawn chain. While black saves their extra pawn with this move, it plays into your strategic plan. As a member of the Igor nation, you understand that good things come to those who bait. By enticing black to hold onto the extra pawn, you set the stage for a powerful attack. Finally, with the move queen to h5, you position yourself for a play akin to scholar's mate or something quite close to it. The centralized black king becomes exposed, and a checkmate is on the horizon. After the following sequence, victory was achieved through a checkmate, as the bishop cut off a critical diagonal, sealing the win for white in just a few moves. This trap proves highly effective due to your strong central control, the baiting of black to hold onto the extra pawn, and the subsequent devastating attack that leads to a rapid checkmate, or a significant advantage for white. To crush the Scandinavian defense easily, you can follow this strategic plan as white. Start by playing knight to f3, offering black the chance to capture the e4 pawn. Often, they take the bait and play knight to g5, seemingly intending to regain the pawn. Respond with knight to f6, appearing to accept the loss of the pawn while continuing the game. Next, play pawn to d3, creating a situation where the pawn is under attack twice. Despite being a pawn down, black might feel comfortable with an extra pawn, but they could be bothered by your knight on g5, applying pressure. At this critical juncture, many opponents make a grave error by playing pawn to h6. This move, known as the Tennessee Gambit, turns out to be a big mistake. It exposes black's king to a brilliant sacrifice. Knight takes f7. By executing the sacrifice, you fork black's queen and rook, forcing them to capture your knight. Subsequently, play bishop to g6, attacking the black king. If black captures your bishop with their king, you reveal a discovered attack with your queen, leading to a winning position. With this strategic sequence, you expose the black king and secure a decisive advantage, paving the way for a quick and impressive victory as white in the Scandinavian defense. Now, it's time for a puzzle. In the given position, it's white's turn, and you need to find the best move for white. Share your answers in the comments, and let's see how many of you can solve it correctly. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with future videos. Take a moment to check out the other videos appearing on your screen right now. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care and peace.